English has somewhere between 250,000 and a million words, depending how you count them. That's loads. We know the languages can manage with fewer. Spanish has something like 150,000. Can a language really function with just 120 words? Let's find out. Tokiya, mian waputo. Hello, it's another Rob Words, and I've been exploring Toki Pona, what is often called the world's smallest language, and by the way, I've found no reason to doubt that claim. To explain how it works, why it works, who speaks it, and why it means so much to those who do, I need to introduce you to a couple of people.
Jan Usawi is my Toki Pona name, Usawi being the name part of that, and I make music in Toki Pona.
Jan Usawi is a ridiculously talented writer, singer and producer, and also the first person I've ever interviewed with antlers. And I also want you to meet Jan Lakuse, who moderates the Tokipona Discord server.
I think, honestly, too many words is just overrated.
Together they're going to help us understand Tokipona, but you're wondering about the names, right? Well, all will be explained. But first off, what is Tokipona? Well, it's a conlang, a constructed language, invented back in 2001 by a woman called Sonia Lang, who, by the way, was really helpful when I contacted her about this video. She describes Tokipona as her philosophical attempt to understand the meaning of life in 120 words. Tokipona means good language, or indeed simple language in Tokipona itself, and the multiple interpretations of the name gives you an idea of how it comes to have so few words. How many precisely? Well, actually, not 120 anymore. Words have been added as users have invented them, and they have been adopted by other speakers. The Tokipona dictionary, published in 2021, contains 181 words, although some of them are used by just a very small number of people. Others are actually typos of other Tokipona terms. So the book says that there are 137 essential words in Tokipona, but other people will tell you differently. Some people use fewer than 120. 120, 137, 181, whatever. It's a tiny number compared with other languages. So how does it do it? Well, for a start, Tokipona comes without a lot of the hang-ups of other languages. For example, there are no articles, there's no the or a in Tokipona. That only saves 3 words compared with English, but it saves a heck of a lot more compared with, say, German. There are also no grammatical cases. A word doesn't change if it's the subject or object, direct or indirect. In fact, there are no tenses either. There are no different versions of words depending on whether you're describing the past, present or future. And there are no grammatical genders either, so you don't need different masculine, feminine or neuter versions of words. What's more, there are only 3 pronouns. Where English has I and we, Tokipona just has me. It doesn't distinguish between the singular and the plural. Ditto for you. While some languages have a different word for you when it's just one person or you when it's multiple, Tokipona just has sina. And where we have he, she, it and they, Tokipona just has owner. And these words also work for me, my, your, yours, his, her, theirs, its, etc. We'll talk about the most amazing way in which Tokipona saves on words in a second. But first, I want to quickly tell you about something that has saved me a heck of a lot of time while researching this video. I've just started using the Opera browser, and it has dramatically improved how I surf the web. I've been genuinely really impressed. One incredible feature is the AI service that it has built in. It's called Aria, and you can ask it anything you'd like what is a conlang, for example, or you can get it to translate or summarize the text in a web page that you're on. Another feature that has made a really big difference to me is the ability to group tabs in tab islands. I'm often researching multiple videos at once, so normally I'd have loads of browser windows open, but tab islands meant I could keep all my newsletter tabs together, all my Tokipona tabs together, and I mean, just look how neat it looks. There are so many more features: integrated messaging and music apps, file sharing, a built-in ad blocker and VPN to make browsing the web secure and distraction-free, and more. I strongly recommend giving it a go. Use my link in the description to download the Opera browser for free for a faster, safer, and smarter internet experience. So the biggest way in which Tokipona saves on vocab is what's really remarkable about it. Tokipona has very few words, but each one of them can be translated into a multitude of things. They are broad concepts. It's like how our word fruit covers loads of different varieties of fruit and can be used to refer to any one of them. A banana is a banana, yeah, but you can also refer to it using the broader term of fruit. Say, pass me the fruit when there's just a banana on the table, and you're still going to get the banana. So the Tokipona word kiwen means hard object, but you can use it where we would say stone or metal or brick. The word kasi is vegetation, but you can also use it for plant or even herb.
You don't need so many different words for like room, a building, a skyscraper, an underground bunker. You just need tomo.
Just a general word for a building or room.
Or just some sort of space enclosed space that a human occupies.
But what happens when you want to be more specific? When Jan Lacuse and I were trying to work out how to explain this, we settled on the story of the three little pigs. So the first foolish piggy builds his house out of straw, which in Tokipona can be kasi pan, grain-like vegetation. But if you wanted to differentiate between the building materials of the other two swines' abodes, you could describe one as kiwen kasi, solid object made from plant, and the other as kiwen wawa, which means solid object that's strong. Oh, and that's another thing, all content words can serve as objects, verbs, and modifiers, like adjectives, depending on where they are in the sentence. And you can just line up the modifiers and gradually refine the idea. Actually, Sonia Lang talks about it in this book, The Language of Good, which is a little outdated now, but has been a Bible for learners of Tokipona over the past decade. She says, modern languages are cluttered with complex ways to express the simplest thing. What is a geologist but a person of earth knowledge?
It's just a matter of shifting your perspective from this English is hyper-focused, and most world languages, if we're being honest, hyper-focused on very specific things into a different schema. It's just a different schema. You're always talking with someone. And so the ability to ask clarifying questions, to constantly be checking in with your interlocutor is super important to understanding what they mean.
A lot of people describe Tokipona as ambiguous, but it's a description that I've noticed speakers tend to resist, and I kind of see their point. The words themselves aren't ambiguous, they mean what they mean. But what they are, I suppose, is vague. It's like when we say animal, we mean animal. It's not ambiguous, but if there are multiple animals in the field, it is vague. So how easy is it to actually express yourself in Tokipona? Well, that's a question I put to Jan Usawi, whose music I absolutely love. I was listening to it the whole time while I was trying to research this. Just have a listen. It's good, right? So how does she get by with so few words to choose from?
I knew from the beginning, like, this was going to be an interesting songwriting challenge to take on. There's only so many words to use. There's only so many rhyme schemes, and so only so many words to rhyme within them. That often ends up being like the bigger challenges. I find one line that I like, and I'm like, I'm very constrained in how I end up rhyming this.
But it's not just the small number of words that's a challenge, right? Because of the huge variety of interpretations that a word can have, a single sentence can have a variety of meanings. That's why context is hugely important to understanding Tokipona. Without it, lyrics can be, well, yeah, ambiguous.
I think at times I've given the impression like this is only going to make sense once you talk to her in English and they explain it afterwards, and I understand where that comes from, but my intention is always like, yeah, I'm not going to explain the concept fully, but then like if you derive something from it that's totally different from what I expected, like that's now a new meaning of the song as well.
I mean, Usawi is a great lyricist. We've had little sort of like, just among me and my friends, just little things where we compare, like we write different translations of her songs, we compare. Like, oh, what does yours say? What does mine say?
I really enjoy writing in Tokipona for that flexibility in meaning. A great example of this and of this like artist-fan interaction that I've come to really love is with one of my earlier songs, Monsuta. There's like a frequent recurring line, mi wile alasa, where mi means I, wile means to want to or want or need, and then alasa is a word for hunt, but it's often used metaphorically to mean to try to do something. So I, in the song where like it's meant to be kind of aggressive and monstrous, had the thought of like I want to hunt as being closer to the like original intended meaning, but someone came in and said this whole song takes on a very different light if you read it as meaning I want to try.
That's how it is with art, right? Differing interpretations add to it, they don't take away. So we talked about how many words there are and what some of those mean, but we haven't talked about the words themselves. Where do they come from? Have these arrangements of vowels and consonants just been plucked out of thin air? Well, no. For the most part, they're inspired by words from languages from all over the world, from Georgian, from Finnish, from Japanese, from Tongan, from another constructed language, Esperanto, and from English. And you see this? This is yellow. One of my favourites is the word for damaged, pakala. It's taken from the English-based Creole tokipona, where the word is bagarap. That, in turn, is a rendering of the English phrase buggered up. But you can see with pakala and yellow that the words aren't exactly the same as their tokipona and English equivalents. They've been changed to fit in with a set of rules guiding the construction of Tokipona words and also the Tokipona alphabet, a process called Tokiponization. The Tokipona alphabet has just 14 letters, 9 consonants, which are pronounced the way they are in English, except for J, which is pronounced Y, which is normal. English is weird for pronouncing it the way it does. And then there are the 5 vowels that we're used to, but they're always pronounced the same way. They're pronounced like they are in Spanish or Japanese, loosely A, E, I, O, and U. I mentioned Tokipona has rules for building words. Well, just quickly, a word can start with a vowel or a consonant, but after the first syllable, every syllable has to consist of a consonant followed by a vowel. The only consonant that can end a syllable is an N, but that isn't always there. The result is that you never get consecutive vowels within a word. There are also a few banned letter combinations that you can't use, mostly because they sound like other syllables. When somebody joins the Tokipona community, they're encouraged to come up with a Tokiponized version of their name so that they can properly introduce themselves. You should totally try to work out what yours would be. I did. Say hello to Jan Waputo.
Hi, Mike.
Hello.
You're the language guy.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah, just working on another one. I'll explain the Jan bit later, but how did I get from Rob words, which is what I wanted to go with, to Waputo? Well, initially, I didn't. I followed the rules. So there's no R in Tokipona, so I turned that into a W.
Okay, this takes a while. Let's just speed it up a little.
I had to turn the B into a P. The start of words has this W then, a sound that sounds most like U to me, but WU is banned, so
A little bit more.
consonant clusters aren't allowed, so let's reduce the RD to just D, and that D has to be turned into a E. You can't turn consonant into N, so I need to swap a vowel again, and
There we go.
so the name I initially came up with was Oputa. But then I realised that that sounded like swearing in at least 2 languages I can think of. So I got some help.
Rob, I think, would be closer to the Tokipona A than to O, so Yanwa could work as a name, for sure. I like the sound of Yanwaputo.
Okay, that's it. It's decided. I'm Jan Waputo. Like I say, you should come up with your own. Let me bring up the rules again. Hit pause, screenshot them, take a photo, whatever. I'll give you a sec. And on we go. Now, 2 things here. In Tokipona, you always stress the first syllable of a word. That's why it's Waputo, not Waputo. And let me finally explain what that Yan at the start of everyone's name is all about. So in Tokipona, a name is not a proper noun like it is in English. It's a modifier. And to use it, you need something for it to modify. So in the case of a person's name, usually this is the Tokipona word for person, Yan. For a country's name, you would put the Tokipona word for land or place in front instead. The UK is Ma-UK. The United States is the utterly adorable Ma-Mewika. These proper adjectives, I suppose, are the only times when Tokipona uses a capital letter. And I mean the only time. Tokipona sentences always start in lowercase. Actually, this is the point where I should mention something massive that we haven't talked about yet, because this is not the only way to write in Tokipona. You can also write like this. This is sitelen Pona, and each of these symbols represents a Tokipona word. The shapes aren't arbitrary, there's a logic to each of them. This is the character for toki, which means communication, and it's the symbol for object, io, with these 3 lines called emitters, as if the object is communicating something. Side note, I originally interpreted this as like a top-down view of a person speaking, but Jan Lakuse ran a poll of Tokipona speakers on my behalf and found that pretty much none of them agreed with me. Anyway, Toki doesn't just mean language, it can mean any form of communication. When it's used as the standard greeting, Toki, what you're basically doing is announcing the start of a communication. It's like announcing conversation is starting. The glyph for Pona, meaning good, well, simple, is like a smiling mouth. And when you put the symbols for Toki and Pona together, you get this, the happy little logo for Tokipona. Which are my favourite symbols? Well, seeing as you asked, this one, which is for yaki, which means yucky or untidy, or indeed messy scribble, and this little cutie, which represents moo and means moo. This is the word that describes the noise that every animal makes. In Tokipona, even a cat says moo. In fact, even inanimate objects can moo.
A microwave can move.
Oh, really?
Some people think that if the thing makes a sound by itself, that's a moo. Like, I go by the axiom that any sound is a moo. So right now I am mooing to you.
Love it. Tokipona can be very quirky. Another way in which it very much is in the way it handles numbers. We waste so many words on numbers in English. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. and then 11, 12, 13, then 20, 30, 40, 100, 1,000, blah blah. But not Tokipona. It has a couple of counting systems, but the most precise is this one, where 1 means 1, 2 means 2, luka, the word for hand, means 5, mute, the word for many or amount, means 20, and ale, the word for everything, means 100. To count, you just add these together. So counting to 10 is 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, luka, luka 1, luka 2, luka 2, 1, luka 2, 2, luka, luka. Simple.
So if I want to say 299, it would be ale ale, mute 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 mute, luka luka luka, tutu.
You know what it reminds me of? It's like verbal Roman numerals.
Kind of, yeah.
I had a lot of fun talking to Jan Lakuse. She actually runs an annual Tokipona writing competition, and people take it really seriously.
For example, last year there was one person who released this like 20,000 word, because there is no upper limit. It's like a 20,000 word light novel in Tokipona. And that was incredible to see. And I think they got second place. I actually can't even remember if they won or not, but they certainly won in my heart.
There's no doubt that Tokipona means a huge amount to many of its users. You only have to look at the Discord server and the Facebook group, which are really at the center of the Tokipona universe these days, to see that. People are really committed to it.
They're incredible.
And I wonder, it's always going to sound like quite a mean question, but I wonder why people are so committed to it. There's obviously a philosophy behind Tokipona that I've just been reading about. I've been reading The Language of Good, and it's all set out at the start about, perhaps simplifying language can help you simplify your thoughts. Do you think there's a philosophical reason that people get so into it, or is it a linguistic toy?
I think you're closer with the linguistic toy aspect, but also there's different motivations across the group. There's people who get in because it's just like, it's such a novel idea. There's actually a lot of people who get in because they've never mastered a language before, and the idea of like 125 words or something, it's masterable. You can finish. There's an end in sight.
A lot of the people there are younger, like around high school or college age. I'm in my 4th year of college, for reference. I mean, I think being into Tokipona in part qualifies you as a nerd, but we're all kind of like self-identified nerds in other directions as well.
Whoever and wherever they are, they've been nothing but welcoming to me while I've been exploring this whole Tokipona world.
In my opinion, at least, Toki Pona hits a really nice sweet spot between enough minimalism that it hits that easy memorizability and gets you to stretch how you think about conveying things, but not so few words that you have to stretch your mind too much to say a basic sentence.
For me, it is the best language, but like not in like a colonial way. Just like for me, that is the language that I would like to speak on my deathbed.
I like one description I heard, which was the language with the most speakers per word.
That is amazing. Yes, yes.
Thanks so much to Jan Lakuse, who was unbelievably helpful. There's a link to the Discord server and some other learning resources below. Thanks also, of course, to Jan Usawi. I'll link to her truly marvellous music below as well. If you enjoyed this, there's loads more from me in my free newsletter and on my Patreon. Watch this video next, perhaps, and I'll see you over there. Mitawa. Take care.